September 11, 1957. The Faculty of Economics Universitas Padjadjaran was established into the Faculty of Economics and Business since August 26, 2011. FEB Unpad has received international achievements and awards including ISO 9001-2015 certified, ABES 21 accreditation, and the Times Higher Education World University rankings. FEB Unpad has also been registered as a member of an international accreditation institution, namely the Association of Asia Pacific Business Schools, or AAPBS, since November 2020. FEB Unpad is committed to becoming a superior higher education provider at the national level, leading in Asia Pacific and international in 2026 with a well-structured organizational system. FEB Unpad consists of 3 departments. Each department offers various levels of study programs ranging from applied bachelor's level, undergraduate, up to doctoral levels, namely the Department of Accounting, the Department of Economics, and also the Department of Management and Business.
Cek 1, 2. Gas.
Currently, the Applied Undergraduate Program, FEB Unpad offers 4 study programs, namely Tax Accounting, Public Sector Accounting, International Business, and Digital Marketing. FEB Unpad Undergraduate Program offers 5 study programs, namely Accounting, Economics, Management, Islamic Economics, and Digital Business. The postgraduate program consists of Professional Accountant Education, Masters in Economics, Master of Applied Economics, Master of Management Science, Master Management, Master of Integrated Microfinance Management, and Master of Accounting. The doctoral program in FEB Unpad organizes scientific and applied programs. The program is Doctoral of Accounting Science, Doctoral of Economics, and Doctoral of Management Science. FEB Unpad provides various integrated services system through Padjadjaran Administration Information System to support the academic, administrative, and management fields in FEB Unpad. These services systems include academic systems, employee systems, and e-office. Teaching FEB Unpad is supported by competent resources in their respective fields. Currently, FEB Unpad has 149 lecturers, including 43 lecturers in Accounting Department, 46 lecturers from Economics Department, 60 lecturers from Management and Business Department. FEB Unpad also has 20 full-time professors, including 5 professors from the Accounting Department, 6 professors from the Economics Department, 9 professors from the Management and Business Department. FEB Unpad also has 138 educational staff to support the realization of a good organizational implementation. Student organization supervised by FEB Unpad consists of the Student Executive Board or BEM, Student Representative Body or BPM, Student Association or HIMA, 8 Semi-Autonomous Body or BSO, as well as several Assisted Students Activities Unit, national and international level faculty and student activities. Following is the collaboration between FEB Unpad and various universities and institutions both at home and abroad. La Trobe University, Monash University, Leiden University, Northern Illinois University, Naresuan University, Ajo University, Y Schools, International Management Institute, University of Barcelona, La Rochelle University, University Science of Malaysia, University Malaysia Pahang, Bank Indonesia, Bank BNI, Bank Mandiri, Bank BRI, Pertamina, Telkomsel, Pupuk Kujang, Pupuk Indonesia, Bank Jabar Banten, Bio Farma, Bank Syariah Indonesia, and various other strategic cooperation partners. Together with Unpad, from West Java, for Indonesia, to the world. Welcome to the Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Pajajaran, FEB Unpad. Faculty of Economics, Universitas Pajajaran was founded on September 11, 1957. The Faculty of Economics, Universitas Pajajaran was established into the Faculty of Economics and Business since August 26, 2011. FEB Unpad has received international achievements and awards including ISO 9001-2015 certified, ABES 21 accreditation, and the Times Higher Education World University rankings. FEB Unpad has also been registered as a member of an international accreditation institution, namely the Association of Asia Pacific Business Schools, or AAPBS, since November 2020. FEB Unpad is committed to becoming a superior higher education provider at the national level, leading in Asia Pacific and international in 2026 with a well-structured organizational system. FEB Unpad consists of 3 departments. Each department offers various levels of study programs ranging from applied bachelor's level, undergraduate, up to doctoral levels, namely the Department of Accounting, the Department of Economics, and also the Department of Management and Business. Currently, the Applied Undergraduate Program, FEB Unpad offers 4 study programs, namely Tax Accounting, Public Sector Accounting, International Business, and Digital Marketing. FEB Unpad undergraduate program offer 5 study programs, namely Accounting, Economics, Management, Islamic Economics, and Digital Business. The postgraduate program consists of professional accountant education, Masters in Economics, Master of Applied Economics, Master of Management Science, Master Management, Master of Integrated Microfinance Management, and Master of Accounting. The doctoral program in FEB Unpad organizes scientific and applied programs. The program is Doctoral of Accounting Science, Doctoral of Economics, and Doctoral of Management Science. FEB Unpad provides various integrated services system through Pajajaran Administration Information System to support the academic, administrative, and management fields in FEB Unpad. These services systems include academic systems, employee systems, and e-office. Managing FEB Unpad is supported by competent resources in their respective fields. Currently, FEB Unpad has 149 lecturers, including 43 lecturers in Accounting Department, 46 lecturers from Economics Department, 60 lecturers from Management and Business Department. FEB Unpad also has 20 full-time professors, including 5 professors from the Accounting Department, 6 professors from the Economics Department, 9 professors from the Management and Business Department. FEB Unpad also has 138 educational staff to support the realization of a good organizational implementation. Student organization supervised by FEB Unpad consists of the Student Executive Board or BEM, Student Representative Body or BPM, Student Association or HIMA, 8 Semi-Autonomous Body or BSO, as well as several Assisted Students Activities Unit, national and international level faculty and student activities. Following is the collaboration between FEB Unpad and various universities and institutions both at home and abroad. La Trobe University, Monash University, Leiden University, Northern Illinois University, Naresuan University, Ajo University, Y Schools, International Management Institute, University of Barcelona, La Rochelle University, University Science of Malaysia, University Malaysia Pahang, Bank Indonesia, Bank BNI, Bank Mandiri, Bank BRI, Pertamina, Telkomsel, Pupuk Kujang, Pupuk Indonesia, Bank Jabar Banten, Bio Farma, Bank Syariah Indonesia, and various other strategic cooperation partners. Together with UNPAD, from West Java, for Indonesia, to the world. Welcome to the Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Padjadjaran, FEB UNPAD. Faculty of Economics, Universitas Padjadjaran was founded on September 11, 1957. The Faculty of Economics, Universitas Padjadjaran was established into the Faculty of Economics and Business since August 26, 2011. FEB UNPAD has received international achievements and awards including ISO 9001-2015 certified, ABES 21 accreditation, and the Times Higher Education World University rankings. FEB UNPAD has also been registered as a member of an international accreditation institution, namely the Association of Asia Pacific Business Schools, or AAPBS, since November 2020. FEB UNPAD is committed to becoming a superior higher education provider at the national level, leading in Asia Pacific and international in 2026 with a well-structured organizational system. FEB UNPAD consists of 3 departments. Each department offers various levels of study programs ranging from applied bachelor's level, undergraduate, up to doctoral levels, namely the Department of Accounting, the Department of Economics, and also the Department of Management and Business. Currently, the Applied Undergraduate Program, FEB UNPAD offers 4 study programs, namely Tax Accounting, Public Sector Accounting, International Business, and Digital Marketing. FEB UNPAD Undergraduate Program offers 5 study programs, namely Accounting, Economics, Management, Islamic Economics, and Digital Business. The postgraduate program consists of professional accountant education, Masters in Economics, Master of Applied Economics, Master of Management Science, Master Management, Master of Integrated Microfinance Management, and Master of Accounting. The doctoral program in FEB UNPAD organizes scientific and applied programs. The program is Doctoral of Accounting Science, Doctoral of Economics, and Doctoral of Management Science. FEB UNPAD provides various integrated services system through Padjadjaran Administration Information System to support the academic, administrative, and management fields in FEB UNPAD. These services systems include academic systems, employee systems, and e-office. Managing FEB Unpad is supported by competent resources in their respective fields. Currently, FEB Unpad has 149 lecturers, including 43 lecturers in Accounting Department, 46 lecturers from Economics Department, 60 lecturers from Management and Business Department. FEB Unpad also has 20 full-time professors, including 5 professors from the Accounting Department, 6 professors from the Economics Department, 9 professors from the Management and Business Department. FEB Unpad also has 138 educational staff to support the realization of a good organizational implementation. Student organization supervised by FEB Unpad consists of the Student Executive Board or BEM, Student Representative Body or BPM, Student Association or HIMA, 8 Semi-Autonomous Body or BSO, as well as several Assisted Students Activities Unit, national and international level faculty and student activities. Following is the collaboration between FEB Unpad and various universities and institutions both at home and abroad. La Trobe University, Monash University, Leiden University, Northern Illinois University, Naresuan University, Ajo University, Y Schools, International Management Institute, University of Barcelona, La Rochelle University, University Science of Malaysia, University Malaysia Pahang, Bank Indonesia, Bank BNI, Bank Mandiri, Bank BRI, Pertamina, Telkomsel, Pupuk Kujang, Pupuk Indonesia, Bank Jabar Banten, Bio Farma, Bank Syariah Indonesia, and various other strategic cooperation partners. Together with Unpad, from West Java, for Indonesia, to the world. Welcome to the Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Padjadjaran, FEB Unpad. Faculty of Economics, Universitas Padjadjaran was founded on September 11, 1957. The Faculty of Economics, Universitas Padjadjaran was established into the Faculty of Economics and Business since August 26, 2011. FEB Unpad has received international achievements and awards including ISO 9001-2015 certified, ABES 21 accreditation, and the Times Higher Education World University rankings. FEB Unpad has also been registered as a member of an international accreditation institution, namely the Association of Asia Pacific Business Schools, or AAPBS, since November 2020. FEB Unpad is committed to becoming a superior higher education provider at the national level, leading in Asia Pacific and international in 2026 with a well-structured organizational system. FEB Unpad consists of 3 departments. Each department offers various levels of study programs ranging from applied bachelor's level, undergraduate, up to doctoral levels, namely the Department of Accounting, the Department of Economics, and also the Department of Management and Business. Currently, the applied undergraduate program, FEB Unpad offers 4 study programs, namely Tax Accounting, Public Sector Accounting, International Business, and Digital Marketing. FEB Unpad undergraduate program offers 5 study programs, namely Accounting, Economics, Management, Islamic Economics, and Digital Business. The postgraduate program consists of professional accountant education, Masters in Economics, Master of Applied Economics, Master of Management Science, Master Management, Master of Integrated Microfinance Management, and Master of Accounting. The doctoral program in FEB Unpad organizes scientific and applied programs. The program is Doctoral of Accounting Science, Doctoral of Economics, and Doctoral of Management Science. FEB Unpad provides various integrated services system through Pajajaran Administration Information System to support the academic, administrative, and management fields in FEB Unpad. These services systems include academic systems, employee systems, and e-office. Managing FEB Unpad is supported by competent resources in their respective fields. Currently, FEB Unpad has 149 lecturers, including 43 lecturers in Accounting Department, 46 lecturers from Economics Department, 60 lecturers from Management and Business Department. FEB Unpad also has 20 full-time professors, including 5 professors from the Accounting Department, 6 professors from the Economics Department, 9 professors from the Management and Business Department. FEB Unpad also has 138 educational staff to support the realization of a good organizational implementation. Student organization supervised by FEB Unpad consists of the Student Executive Board or BEM, Student Representative Body or BPM, Student Association or HIMA, 8 Semi-Autonomous Body or BSO, as well as several Assisted Students Activities Unit, national and international level faculty and student activities. Following is the collaboration between FEB Unpad and various universities and institutions both at home and abroad. La Trobe University, Monash University, Leiden University, Northern Illinois University, Naresuan University, Ajo University, Y Schools, International Management Institute, University of Barcelona, La Rochelle University, University Science of Malaysia, University Malaysia Pahang, Bank Indonesia, Bank BNI, Bank Mandiri, Bank BRI, Pertamina, Telkomsel, Pupuk Kujang, Pupuk Indonesia, Bank Jabar Banten, Bio Farma, Bank Syariah Indonesia, and various other strategic cooperation partners. Together with Unpad, from West Java, for Indonesia, to the world. Welcome to the Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Padjadjaran, FEB Unpad. Faculty of Economics, Universitas Padjadjaran was founded on September 11, 1957. The Faculty of Economics, Universitas Padjadjaran was established into the Faculty of Economics and Business since August 26, 2011. FEB Unpad has received international achievements and awards including ISO 9001-2015 certified, ABES 21 accreditation, and the Times Higher Education World University rankings. FEB Unpad has also been registered as a member of an international accreditation institution, namely the Association of Asia Pacific Business Schools, or AAPBS, since November 2020. FEB Unpad is committed to becoming a superior higher education provider at the national level, leading in Asia Pacific and international in 2026 with a well-structured organizational system. FEB Unpad consists of 3 departments. Each department offers various levels of study programs ranging from applied bachelor's level, undergraduate, up to doctoral levels, namely the Department of Accounting, the Department of Economics, and also the Department of Management and Business. Currently, the applied undergraduate program, FEB Unpad offers 4 study programs, namely Tax Accounting, Public Sector Accounting, International Business, and Digital Marketing. FEB Unpad undergraduate program offers 5 study programs, namely Accounting, Economics, Management, Islamic Economics, and Digital Business. The postgraduate program consists of professional accountant education, Masters in Economics, Master of Applied Economics, Master of Management Science, Master Management, Master of Integrated Microfinance Management, and Master of Accounting. The doctoral program in FEB Unpad organizes scientific and applied programs. The program is Doctoral of Accounting Science, Doctoral of Economics, and Doctoral of Management Science. FEB Unpad provides various integrated services system through Pajajaran Administration Information System to support the academic, administrative, and management fields in FEB Unpad. These services systems include academic systems, employee systems, and e-office. Managing FEB Unpad is supported by competent resources in their respective fields. Currently, FEB Unpad has 149 lecturers, including 43 lecturers in Accounting Department, 46 lecturers from Economics Department, 60 lecturers from Management and Business Department. FEB Unpad also has 20 full-time professors, including 5 professors from the Accounting Department, 6 professors from the Economics Department, 9 professors from the Management and Business Department. FEB Unpad also has 138 educational staff to support the realization of a good organizational implementation. Student organization supervised by FEB Unpad consists of the Student Executive Board or BEM, Student Representative Body or BPM, Student Association or HIMA, 8 Semi-Autonomous Body or BSO, as well as several Assisted Students Activities Unit, national and international level faculty and student activities. Following is the collaboration between FEB Unpad and various universities and institutions both at home and abroad. La Trobe University, Monash University, Leiden University, Northern Illinois University, Naresuan University, Ajo University, Y Schools, International Management Institute, University of Barcelona, La Rochelle University, University Science of Malaysia, University Malaysia Pahang, Bank Indonesia, Bank BNI, Bank Mandiri, Bank BRI, Pertamina, Telkomsel, Pupuk Kujang, Pupuk Indonesia, Bank Jabar Banten, Bio Farma, Bank Syariah Indonesia, and various other strategic cooperation partners. together with UNPAD from West Java for Indonesia to the world. Welcome to the Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Padjadjaran, FEB UNPAD. Faculty of Economics, Universitas Padjadjaran was founded on September 11, 1957. The Faculty of Economics, Universitas Padjadjaran was established into the Faculty of Economics and Business since August 26, 2011. FEB UNPAD has received international achievements and awards including ISO 9001-2015 certified, ABES 21 accreditation, and the Times Higher Education World University rankings. FEB UNPAD has also been registered as a member of an international accreditation institution, namely the Association of Asia Pacific Business Schools, or AAPBS, since November 2020. FEB UNPAD is committed to becoming a superior higher education provider at the national level, leading in Asia Pacific and international in 2026 with a well-structured organizational system. FEB UNPAD consists of 3 departments. Each department offers various levels of study programs ranging from applied bachelor's level, undergraduate, up to doctoral levels, namely the Department of Accounting, the Department of Economics, and also the Department of Management and Business. Currently, the Applied Undergraduate Program, FEB UNPAD offers 4 study programs, namely Tax Accounting, Public Sector Accounting, International Business, and Digital Marketing. FEB UNPAD Undergraduate Program offers 5 study programs, namely Accounting, Economics, Management, Islamic Economics, and Digital Business. The postgraduate program consists of Professional Accountant Education, Masters in Economics, Master of Applied Economics, Master of Management Science, Master Management, Master of Integrated Microfinance Management, and Master of Accounting. The doctoral program in FEB UNPAD organizes scientific and applied programs. The program is Doctoral of Accounting Science, Doctoral of Economics, and Doctoral of Management Science. FEB UNPAD provides various integrated services system through Padjadjaran Administration Information System to support the academic, administrative, and management fields in FEB UNPAD. These services systems include academic systems,
Hello, good morning, everyone. We will start soon, I think. But before we begin with the main event, the lecture, I think I would like to have a brief 5-minute speech each from the host. First of all, I would like to invite Professor Maman from the Faculty of Economics, representing the Dean, to welcome everyone here. And then later on, Prof. Susiana from SDG Center. Take it away.
Thank you, Pak Arif. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. Selamat pagi ya. So Honorable Prof. Susi ya, Prof. Susi Anab, the Director of SDGs UNPAD, and then our distinguished speakers. we have Professor Dr. Arnold Tucker and then Dr. Ahmad Rizal Shidik, yeah, from Leiden University. So thank you very much for coming and being a guest lecturer for this seminar, yeah, today. And also honorable participant. So we have here students from undergraduate and then postgraduates, yeah. Both following from this room. This is Balai Sawala, yeah, and also from Zoom, yeah, from Zoom. Today, so we have a seminar. The topic is about the sustainability and development economics. Yeah, we have the title of the seminar. Sustainable development goals and indicators with input output, and then the South Asian economies, a long run perspective. So the first topic will be given by Professor Arnold Tucker, and the second one will be given by Dr. Ahmad. Yeah. Maybe the first seminar, the first lecture will be given by Professor Arnold, yeah. Professor Arnold, and then Professor Arnold or Professor Ahmad? Oh, Professor Arnold, okay, Professor Arnold, and then Pak Ahmad, yeah. I believe that this seminar will give a fruitful materials, yeah, for all the participants, and I think both the participant that comes in person right now here and by the Zoom can also have interactive discussion, yeah, with all the speakers here. So we hope all the participants can reap much benefit from this seminar. So we would like thanks to Professor Arnold and Pak Dr. Ahmad, yeah, again for coming to this seminar. So I represent the Dean. Very welcome all to all the participants. And again, we hope, yeah, this seminar will give you all the benefits. Yeah. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Welcome everyone from Professor Siana from SDG Center of UNPAD.
Thank you very much, Pak Arif. Very good morning to all of you. This is really a great pleasure for me to have all of you here in a very important seminar here today. We have a very prominent person from Leiden University, Professor Arnold Tucker and Dr. Ahmad Rizal. Yeah. A friend of mine, we have met last year in Leiden, yeah, when I attend my son's master degree, graduated from Leiden University, and actually we have a very nice lunch here in a very fancy restaurant. And also Professor Arnold Tucker, we have met around 2 years ago, yeah. Professor Arnold Tucker have been in our institution in SDG Center to give a lecture also. So we are very happy to have you again here to give a lecture, yeah, which is I consider to be an important theme, yeah, on especially from Arnold Tucker, yeah, where he will talk about an input-output model for SDGs, yeah, which is actually, this is probably new for us, yeah, because we haven't done any research on input-output for SDGs. So I think will be interesting. And also Pak Ahmad Rizal, who will talk about the future economic development in Southeast Asia. Yeah. Probably this is also will be interesting because probably Pak Ahmad will talk also about the structural break, COVID-19 effect to our economic development. So I think this will be interesting, especially for you. I think all of the students here attend in the seminar is from the Faculty of Economics. So again, thank you very much for your coming, Prof. Arnold Tucker and also Dr. Ahmad Rizal. Thank you very much again, and I hope that all of you can have a benefit from the seminar so that we can have a good knowledge about the matters that will be talked. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Prof. Susi. Well, then let me introduce the two speakers. Professor Arnold Tucker. I always consider him academic celebrities from the Netherlands. He's very well known. He has a lot of positions. Well, the main one is in the Institute of Environmental Science, or CML, Leiden University, chair of the institute, supervisor of Victor, supervisor of Irland, our lecturer. And also he has a positions in one of the biggest think tank in Europe, called TNO, and now he's actually visiting fellow or visiting professor in Institute of Advanced Studies in Paris. And then I would like to introduce also Dr. Ahmad Rizal Siddiq. Some people call him Ahmad, some people call him Rizal, but both Ahmad and Rizal are also pasaran nama pasaran, very common name. Yeah. But Rizal is a special close friend of mine because we did master program together in London back then in 2001. Yeah. But we're lucky we still managed to do a lot of works with him. We normally publish something that our last two publication with Rizal is not something funded by any because there is no funding for that research because our research mostly come from our dinner talk. So, so anything that interests us, let's make a paper out of it. Funding number 2. So, but we managed to do that anyway. So, and then Rizal bachelor degrees from University of Indonesia, and then he did master in SOAS in London, School of, and then went to America in Washington in George Mason University. Well, both of them will talk 30 to 40 minutes. If you guys can make it even briefer, that will be good because then we can discuss more, have discussion more, because I'm sure students and participants will have a lot of things to discuss, to talk. Yeah, it's a very opportunity. It's a rare chance, yeah, to ask professor from Leiden University. Leiden is the oldest university, I think, in Europe. Yeah, where not really. Okay, Rizal always claim that. In Netherlands, yeah, Leiden. So many of our funding father went there to study. Well, without further ado, maybe I will invite first Arnold to come to the stage and give a talk, and then later on I will invite Rizal and we can have a discussion. Okay, time is your Arnold.
Yeah, I do it there. Okay, and then I do it like this, and then I can. I think. Oh, wait, then. No, it's fine because the camera is still coming from there. No, I think this is fine. I can do this. Was there a click? No, it's not connected. Anyway. Okay, thank you so much for this kind invitation and the kind introductions and meeting good old friends, because we work already together for 5-6 years. First with Victor in the PhD, then with Armida Alishabana when she was still leading the SDG Center, now taken over by Susiana. Of course, you, Arif, you're a multi-talented person. I saw on YouTube how you played the guitar. Flamingo at the 65th anniversary or the 60th anniversary of this faculty and the university. It's a pleasure to be here, really. Thank you. So maybe a little bit, I showed this slide a few times when I had talks, but I think it's a kind of interesting that on the one hand, I think there's no need to hide it. We, my country and Indonesia have a kind of a troubled history, you know. But I'm very glad that despite the troubled history that probably lasted till the 1950s, you see now that the bonds between Indonesia and the Netherlands are actually really good. You really see that we try to, on the one hand, we receive a lot of people from Indonesia to pursue the studies in the Netherlands. And the other way around, we go to Indonesia and do things. I will give you a few examples of how that works out. So at the left there, and it's a bit difficult to see, you see that your president, Joko Widodo, was visiting my country, I think it was in 2015 or 16. And of course, what you normally do with the state visit, you go to the king, you go to the president, you go whatever, and so on. And all of a sudden it was like, why don't we go to Leiden University? Because it's so close by, you know, to The Hague, where the king is living, where the president is living, only 15 kilometers. So what you see there is your president, together with my then rector, Karel Stolker. I think your Minister of Foreign Affairs was there, the Minister of Education was there, the Mayor of Leiden was there. And they sit in a very famous room. We call it the sweating room. Do you have any idea why? Probably not. That used to be the room where master or PhD candidates had to wait to be examined. And of course, if you wait to be examined, you do like this and it drips from here, you know, you sweat. Good. I think Victor was there. Hopefully Elon will be there in about a few months. And what you can do now, if you graduate with your PhD or master's, you can put your name on the wall, your signature. And of course, we have many students. We have many PhD students. One of them was our king. He was a master's student. He put his name on the wall. Of course, there is now a special protective plate that, you know, protects us. We had Nelson Mandela. He was an honorary doctorate, and he also he is protected. Everybody else puts his name on the wall. And then, of course, after 5 years, your signature disappeared because 20 other people has written over it. But okay, this is a tradition, unique, I think, in the world. And that's why we show it. Then on the right, you see another, for me personally, a very memorable moment. I think all of you must recognize the little man in the middle, one of the former presidents, Rudy Habibie. I think for me, a very inspiring person because he had a brief presidency in Indonesia, but he really turned things around. He put you on a path to democracy. He solved the Timor question and a number of other things. So I would say a very powerful person that did the right things for your country. And what happened there, and I think, Victor, you were at the same ceremony because Ahmad Aditya, he is the guy that graduated there. He is in a big suit. But his wife is the granddaughter of Habibie, Tiara, and that is the little daughter. And as it happened on the graduation day, Habibie was actually in Germany and he decided to come over. So that was a big shock. I heard like, oh, we have a former president of Indonesia and the ambassador is coming. So I arranged that the rector himself, normally he presided the graduation ceremony. Normally we cannot do that because the rector has no time for that. But okay, we do that. And nou ja, okay, we could make this picture. And what I will never forget is that in the evening, there was of course a dinner to celebrate. Habibie was a guest of honor. He talked with my dean and he was talking about his movie. He of course had, of not his movie, he had a movie of, what is it? Habibie and Aynun. And he was making a joke. He said, yeah, I had to actually kind of like sell the rights of the book or whatever. And he jokingly said that actually I took the wrong career. I've become the president of Indonesia, but I see that movie stars have a much better salary than I had. Yeah. And it's very sad 2 or 3 years after he passed away. But yeah, I was at a dinner and it was really a very touching moment for me. And then the 3 PhD students that I supervise or have supervised from Indonesia, you see totally on the left, Dian Armanda. She is in Walisongo University at the moment in Semarang. I visited her yesterday with a seminar like this. Victor, you graduated, you made it. Yes, very famous. Yeah, very good. And the other guy is Elon, and he is going to make it as well. He already has 4 papers, but maybe I should not say that. We made a tear-jerking letter to LDPD and that COVID was so bad and he has 6 months extension. And we're going to do something, a very nice paper that links the SDG Center to the work that I now will present. So sorry, this is a long introduction, but it explains a little bit why we work a lot with Indonesia. Good. SDGs, why are they so important? We clearly have an implementation gap. That beautiful planet is how we want to keep the Earth. But the reality is, it is a gray planet at the moment. You know, we have a lot of pressures. You want to have an economy that is based on justice, where people can live in dignity and where people are not exploited and where nature is not exploited. And we all know we part realize the right things, but in part we still are not there. I think maybe Indonesia is really on a very good path up. I mean, all kind of things happen that are really very encouraging. But if you go to certain countries in Africa, it is not good to live there, basically. Yeah, and that cannot stay like that. And that is what SDGs are for. You have the SDGs. The very important one is no poverty, no hunger, clean water, sustainable consumption and production. That is what we want to realize. Our current work is like, if we don't do anything about the carbon problem, carbon emissions, we go to a world that is much hotter as today, 3-4 degrees hotter than today. We have heat waves of 40 degrees now already in the spring in southern Spain. Last year in the Netherlands, I never experienced that. During the night, it was so hot that I really felt the need to buy a ventilator to be comfortable. You know, I only experienced that from the tropics, never in my country, but things are changing and we have to actually curb that very quick. We have large difference in wealth and billions of poor and also pressure on resources that may prompt conflicts. I mean, at this moment, China is sitting on all the critical raw materials of the world, or a lot of the critical raw materials, and we need that for our energy transition. We see at this moment that actually the tension between the West and China is rising and all kind of strange things are happening. Well, that is not really good for world peace. So what do we need? These sustainable development goals need what we call WISE accounting. WISE stands for well-being. You want to have well-being for the 10 billion future people in the world. You want to have exclusiveness. You don't want to have 10 rich people like Elon Musk and Bill Gates and whatever, and then billions of poor. You want to have that more balanced. You want to be sustainable, that we keep the pressures of the economy within sustainable limits. And of course, you want to have a healthy economy, because at the end of the day, if you like it or not, a healthy economy determines if we all have good lives. Okay, So one of my colleagues, Rutger Hoekstra, won a major project for the European Union that is actually going to do that. Yeah, we will contribute to the sustainability and the economy part as Leiden University. We have the very famous group of Thomas Piketty. He is the best inclusiveness expert with inclusiveness databases in Paris, actually maybe 500 meters from where I live at the moment. And then, of course, we have well-being, a very famous Professor Tim Jackson from the UK. So this is really interesting. And of course, I felt immediately the connection with your center, Susie, the SDZ Center. And I saw, and I will explain it later, immediately the link with the work of Victor and Ilan. And so actually, we are very happy that the 6-month extension is there for Ilan, because he can now actually work out for Indonesia together with the ideas that maybe you guys have in the SDG Center. How do you set up an accounting system on SDGs for Indonesia? And I'll explain later how we will do that. Accounting, however, is tricky. Countries drive job and value added and pollution creation, sorry for the mistake, via imports and exports. What you see happening is that my country, the Netherlands, we import a lot of the goods that we don't produce ourselves. Yeah, we export a lot of services. We know that services, they don't create a lot of pollution. So we don't create a lot of pollution in my country. But we buy a lot, let's say, palm oil from Indonesia. We buy a lot of material stuff, products made in China. So these countries create a lot of environmental pressures. But at the end, it is my consumption. Yeah. So the big lesson here is you have to think in global production consumption systems. You have to understand how consumption in one country creates all kinds of pressures along value chains in the globe. That is the brief message of this figure. And then how do we do this? I think I can skip this because it is. Yeah. And now I'm going to give you something very difficult, a class in input-output economics in maybe 2 or 3 minutes. So listen very carefully. And actually, this is the work of Victor and also Ilan. They worked with this. What you see here is what the green and the orange things is a matrix. It is what we call an input-output table. This is an input-output table for 4 countries. You see the 4 orange blocks on the diagonal. What do you do there? Let's say that is the economy of the Netherlands, Indonesia, China, and I don't know, maybe the US. What you do is you divide the economy of a country in, let's say, 100 sectors. Let's say agriculture, forestry, mining of iron ore, mining of fossil fuels, and so on. You can do it like that. What you have in the columns are what is the sector buying from other sectors to operate. You can imagine that agriculture, yeah, they have to buy fertilizer. They may use tractors, so they buy transport equipment. They buy oil or petrol for the tractors, and so on. So you can say the agricultural sectors, all the farms, let's say in the Netherlands together, let's say that they have a turnover of 100 million. Let's say they buy 10 million transport equipment, tractors, 10 million fertilizer, 40 million fuel, and then there is something left. Because in this input-output table, you also have the profits and the wages of the employers. That are the gray blocks. Yeah, if you have 30 million value added created, it can very well be that 20 million goes to the workers in that sector, and 10 million is profit for shareholders and so on. And the output, of course, is 100 million of agricultural products. So that is the principle behind an input-output table. You have sectors, money goes in, or it's like the money goes out, I have to say, in terms of things that you pay for the products and the services that you use in your sector, and that you pay in terms of wages of your employees and profit and taxes. And your output are the products that you produce. But the interesting thing now, this is a matrix, the output of the agricultural sector, where do they go? Well, maybe they go to, how do you call it? Now, let's say the final consumers or supermarket and that kind of things. Or maybe they go to canteens in industries. So this 100 million, again, is distributed, is taken up by all other sectors and final demand. So what we can do now, we actually have a picture at a very aggregated level of the whole economy of a country. We know exactly in monetary flows who buys what from whom and where in final demand things end up. You can imagine if you have that for 4 countries and you also have the trade relations, yeah, you can all of a sudden see that if we consume food in the Netherlands, maybe there was somewhere in the food industry, palm oil added to the food that was imported via your import data, maybe from Indonesia, then the palm oil sector in Indonesia was producing that. They needed land, fertilizer, all this kind of stuff. And you see this whole picture in your input-output table. You know exactly how the world economy is kind of working at a certain moment. What is really interesting is that you then for each sector can say how many emissions, how many land use, how many primary resource extraction is needed in that sector. That are the gray blocks. And then you start to realize, if I also have, for instance, the wages, we divide them in income categories or in high skilled and low skilled and medium skilled labor. And then all of a sudden you see that you have many parts of information by which you can actually say something about sustainable development goals. The point is the sum of value added over all sectors is the GDP of the country. Yeah, so you'll have information about the GDP. Since you know how the value added by sector is distributed over different incomes categories, you know something about the distribution of wealth. You know something about actually ending poverty or not. You know something about income inequality or not. You can see how much food people can buy. And you can make an estimate if that food is enough caloric value, enough proteins, and so on. So you can say something about ending hunger. You can say something about sustainable consumption and production. You can say something if the industrial production is healthy, because if they make profit, it's usually good. If they are in loss, because you can see that as well, and so on. I'm not going through all the 17 sustainable development goals, but you really can actually characterize a lot. Maybe not everything, but really a lot. Good. Now, how does it work? Let's assume that Arif is working very hard on his mobile, but I invite him for a coffee to Starbucks. And I'm a very generous person. I say, I put the €5. Is it €5? Oh, no, I already explained this. Sorry. I pay the €5 for the coffee that we both drink. Yeah. And now it becomes interesting because you have somewhere restaurants and hotels as a sector. Okay, I know that I give my €5 to Starbucks, which raises the turnover in that sector with €5. Well, Starbucks keeps, let's say, €3 for themselves because, you know, they have to buy a building or whatever. Okay, that is left there as value added. But then, of course, Starbucks had to buy the coffee. Let's assume that €1 of my €5 goes to the food industry, because that is where Douwe Egberts, a very important coffee roaster, is listed. Yeah. But then Douwe Egberts had to buy the coffee from somewhere. It had to be transported. So Douwe Egberts pays maybe €0.5 for transport, pays 25 cents for the coffee that comes from Guatemala. The farmer in Guatemala, from my €5, pays another 25 cents to the fertilizer industry. So all of a sudden, my €5 is decomposed in the value added that each sector is contributing to the €5. And then it becomes interesting because I also know, as I said, the total turnover in the sector and the total emissions in the sector. So let's say that the food industry in the Netherlands has a turnover of 100 million and let's say 1 million kilogram of CO2 emissions. If I then add, now we have to calculate very carefully, 1,000 euros to the food industry, I know that I create another 100 kilogram of CO2 emissions. Yeah, I know the ratio. Maybe I did the calculation wrong, but you know the principle. It is like money goes to that sector. I know that per euro turnover, there is so much emission, and I can say so much money is left in that sector. Turnover, the emissions per euro are so much. So this is roughly an estimate of the amount of emissions by that sector. But since I do that for everywhere where my 5 euros ends up, I can actually make the full value chain. I see where the emissions are taking place in Guatemala, in the Netherlands, or somewhere else, or maybe during transport, and where the resources are extracted. And this is a very powerful way to calculate the environmental footprints of final consumption of people in a country or in a province. Let's now look how that works out. We made an estimate first, like, okay, from a production perspective, what are the dirty sectors? Well, we probably all know that it is all the processes that use fossil fuels, electricity production, chemistry, and so on. It is agriculture, because agriculture uses 70% of the land and 70% of the water. And then we have mining for most of the resources. So from a production point of view, it's clear we have to tackle these 3 sectors. From a consumption point of view, you see that if, particularly in rich countries, and I will come back to that later, the money you spend on food creates about 20–25% of the carbon emissions globally. Beef is a very important contributor to that. Transport services, particularly again in rich countries, that is cars, airplanes, another 20–25%. What you do in your house, we in Europe have to heat it, here we have to cool it, that's another 20–25%. And electrical appliances. So this already gives you a lot of insight that we as consumers can do. Food, for instance, if you reduce your meat consumption, you help the environment. Transport, I do very well in my own country. I don't have a car. I use public transport that only uses green energy, and I use a bike. Where it goes wrong, when I fly around like I do these weeks, you know, then all of a sudden I have a big carbon footprint. Housing, if you have a well-insulated house that doesn't need to has maybe natural cooling, that again is a good thing. And if you buy electrical appliances, use things that are low on energy use. These are the carbon footprints, the water footprints, the land footprints, and the material footprints of countries per person. And it's far too small print, but these are the 48 countries that we have in the big database that we built. And you see there, the line is the carbon emissions of 2 tons per person that you would like to have realized by 2040. And you see that virtually all the countries are way above it. Yeah. And you see, particularly it's the rich countries. It's Australia, it is Ireland, it is my country, it's the US. And why is that? We have a lot of money to spend, and therefore we pollute a lot. And you see all the time the same pattern back. Yeah. This is Indonesia in 2007. You're doing very well, but that is because, particularly in 2007, your national income per capita was not super high. This is my country. We're doing reasonably well. And these are the, oh, it doesn't fit. Maybe it comes back here. You see, however, a very interesting pattern. Here we compare the Human Development Index. Again, that is very important for the Sustainable Development Goals because it gives you an idea about quality of life. Again, versus carbon emission, water use, land use, and material use. And you see something interesting. It is no surprise if you have a low income and you use not a lot of fossil fuel and water and whatever. Yeah, if you really have a very low income, your Human Development Index in general is low. That is what this picture says. But it goes very quickly up if you improve your income. Yeah. And then you see something interesting happen. You have this hockey stick curve. You apparently have countries that at a moderate carbon emissions and moderate land use already have a very good human development index. And after that point, using more carbon, having a higher income doesn't help anymore. I will show what it is. Again, this is Indonesia, particularly in 2007, you could improve human development index a lot. You did already quite a lot in the last 15 years. This is the Netherlands, and I hope now we have the red one. Yes. What is happening here? The Netherlands is doing very well with, moderate carbon emissions. What are the countries in the red circle? That is the US and some similar countries. What is the difference between the US and the Netherlands and some other European countries? Well, we have a good social security system. We have a system that you can go to a university without paying $50,000, $60,000 a year in tuition fees. We have a healthcare system where you pay maybe 1,000, 1,500 euro insurance every year, which for us is a moderate sum compared to the income that we have. That doesn't exist in the US. In the US, everybody is on his or her own. You need an extreme income to be safe. Yeah. You have actually no public safety. When I walk in Jakarta, when I walk in Bandung, I feel okay. Don't try to do that in Newark, which is next to New York. Yeah, I mean, after 9 o'clock, you see all kind of strange people you don't feel pleased. And it can be that all of a sudden there's a gun on your head and please give me your wallet and all this kind of things. And again, if you want to study there in the US at a good university, I cannot pay it to my kids. I don't have kids, but I couldn't pay it. Yeah. I have a colleague, there was something wrong with the birth of his son. And somehow in the insurance, in the fine print, there was something included. He ended up paying 50 or 70,000 euros to save the life of his kid, paying the hospital bills. He is now back in the Netherlands. He starts out with an enormous debt. That is the US. It's very unequal. They don't care in a way for their people. So what I always say, and that is very important for development of countries like yours, never copy that kind of very market-based model. Build something that really keeps society together, that limits income inequality, that gives opportunities to all the people, that that is very important, that you have a social policy in your country, because then you see that you can actually do with less income, you give much better quality of life to the people in your country. That is the lesson from this figure, and it's very important. Okay, let's keep this one. Well, what can we do to reduce the environmental pressures? There are a few things that we can do. Of course, you need clean technologies. Let me give one example. There on top, we have an example from the textile industry. I, at this moment, have a blue suit. And of course, I think this is cotton, and cotton by nature is not blue. So it had to be painted, let's put it that way. So how does it work? You put your cotton fabric in a kind of bath with indigo, which is the blue colorant in this one. That often happens. I mean, the production of these kind of things are often in countries like Bangladesh and India. And of course, after some time, your fabric is nice blue. You take it out, and then you have a spent bath, water with indigo. What do? Well, in these countries, it's often we put a bath and we put it in a river. Well, that's not very good. You lose actually precious resources. The spent indigo is going away, and you pollute a river with toxic chemicals. That's not the way you want it. What these guys invented is a kind of washing machine where you put the indigo in supercritical CO2. You put the fabric in the washing machine that gives the fabric the color. The CO2 is a kind of like evaporating. That's the only negative point about it. You take out the colored fabric, can be used for making all kinds of things. And you put in new indigo with supercritical CO2 and you have the next batch. You have no loss of resources. You have no water pollution. So that is the ideal technology as an example to make things work. I already talked a little bit about expenditures. So yeah, what is also important that, for instance, government has a very important role to play. That you steer actually your population to low impact activities. What I forgot to say is that my country has a very good public transport system, and you can do a lot with public transport and bikes. The reason why I don't need a car is that the trains are so convenient. I can sit, I can work and whatever. If I'm in a car, I'm stressed, I drive and whatever, you know, and I cannot even work. The problem in the US is the public transport system has been broken down. Their spatial development is like everybody has a detached house. You can only move by car from your home to work. And yeah, that's another reason why the emissions are so high in the US. Yeah. So stimulating public transport and having a good public transport system. And I think where's Victor, he walked away, but I noted, oh yeah, there he is. He has an electric bike these days. So maybe he you know, Bandung was of course different, you know, with hills, but the electric bike helps him. So these kind of things are, if you can as a government stimulate, you know, these kind of things, that really helps again to have a good quality of life on the one hand and low impacts on the other. And again, I was already talking about low impact consumption, moderate with meat and all this kind of stuff. And I already explained how your social structure of society can contribute to quality of life in a way by which you don't need a lot of additional income. That is all very important. Maybe one quote. The World Economic Forum has a slogan: if you want to live the American dream, go to Denmark. Yeah, because that's where they really build a social system. It could be the Netherlands, it could be Finland. Yeah, but I mean, I think that tells it all. Don't go to the US. It's an American nightmare, frankly. Okay. Now 2 illustrations. The PhD of Victor. Yeah, Victor, your last paper. We came across all of a sudden news that, oh no, I think it was first our idea. I think between Arif and Victor, we had the idea that there's a lot of nickel mining in Indonesia. And what practically happens, you mine the nickel and you sell it to other countries. And usually mining is a low value added business. And then we had the idea, well, why not imagine that nickel is used in electric vehicles? Electric vehicle production is going up in the next years tremendously. Why not make a hypothetical scenario where all the nickel that we mine in Indonesia is used for producing electric vehicle batteries and electric vehicles? What Victor had to do, there was of course no battery production in the Indonesian input-output table that we had in our database. And there was also no electric vehicle production in the database. So he had to work out like how would the sector look like and add it to the input-output table of Indonesia. And then we said, if you do so much batteries, so much vehicles, then we absorb all the nickel in high value added production in Indonesia. We were just working on the paper and then we saw in the news that Elon Musk was talking with your government about implementing an electric vehicle plant here. So, okay, we moved on with the paper. And then we saw something like this. I don't know. Oh, I don't have an, oh yeah, it's very difficult to see. But you basically saw that Victor could calculate that actually, I think it's something like 1 or 2% of the GDP of Indonesia would go up just by adding one sector to your economic infrastructure. That is quite good because we had something like 80 or 100 sectors in our database. I mean, each sector maybe contributes to 1% of the economy. We actually would double the output of, let's say the transport sector by implementing electric vehicle production in Indonesia. So this is an example of what you can do with input-output analysis. You can imagine a new structure of your economy and you can start to calculate how much value added does it give. And we also calculated that the extra emissions were much lower. So maybe you grew your GDP with 2% and the emissions went only up 0.5%. Yeah. That are the kind of things you can do with input-output analysis. And that is actually now a paper that has been published, I've forgotten which journal, but a nice journal. Then we have the PhD of Ilan. Ilan is a very smart and hardworking guy. He even worked out a subnational input-output table for Indonesia. He can see what happens in all the individual provinces, which is really important. When you have West Java, when you have the capital district of Jakarta, I mean, that is almost like a Western economy with a lot of services and whatever. Ilan was interested in, there's a lot of discussion about palm oil. Yeah, I mean, European politicians think that you guys in Indonesia do very bad. You know, palm oil is very bad. You cut the forest and blah, blah, and, you know, very bad for biodiversity. So I think they even implemented that already, a palm oil ban from Europe. And Ilan wanted to say like, okay, maybe it doesn't have any impact in Jakarta, but maybe in Riau province, that depends a lot on palm oil, it's much more important. So he looked at the economy of the individual provinces in a global context. He made a global input-output table, connected that to a provincial input-output table of Indonesia. And then we made scenarios. We were going to look like what happens if the EU stops import of all palm oil direct. But we even could see if Indonesian palm oil was used, let's say, in products that were made in India and then imported to Europe. We could also say what happens if that stops. And we got, this is a very difficult picture, but this is actually the detailed results for each province. But let me explain the big picture. What was surprising is, what was not surprising that in Java and West Java, you didn't see any difference. But what was even important to see that in Riau province, I think we saw something like that maybe the GDP of Riau province only went down 2%. And we were, how can it be? And then we realized ourselves something that palm oil production in Indonesia is maybe 1 or 2% of your GDP and or 1% or less. In the provinces that have a lot of palm oil production, it may be a few percent. So that already indicates that palm oil is important, but it's not a determining factor in your whole economy. And then we found something else, that actually the exports of palm oil, they go mainly to Asia. They don't go to Europe. So he wrote a paper that is implemented or published in a very important journal, Stoten, a very high quality one. And we actually noted there's something interesting going on. EU politicians say we ban palm oil and we are very strong now and we really hope to guide Indonesia to a sustainable path. But in practice, your economy is hardly affected because you export everything to other countries. At the same time, the Indonesian government is very angry with the European government, of course, because, you know, it's a political game. And what the Europeans should learn from that is that their measure is not really helping to make the whole system more sustainable. And of course, what the Indonesians can learn from that, yeah, it is a nuisance that Europe is doing that, but it's not affecting your economy very much. So maybe helping each other, how can you create sustainable palm oil production with certification, sustainable plantages and that kind of things is maybe a much better way to go than stupid bans and that kind of things. Okay. Good. I come to the end. Well, we have SDGs. We are not fulfilling them at the moment. We can realize them by implementing the right technologies and designs, the right business models and the right policies. And we can calculate the impacts very well with the kind of input-output models that Victor and Ilan have co-developed. And I really look forward to continue this work with UNCTAD and particularly the economic faculty and the Center of SUSI in the near future. So thanks a lot.
Later, maybe I don't, we can stay there for a while. Later on, after Rizal speak, we will invite both of them to the stage. So Rizal, the next speaker will be talking about Southeast Asian economies in the long run perspective. I think it is a good chance for us because now Indonesia is actually leading ASEAN with a vision of becoming ASEAN growth epicenter. That's what they want. I'm a bit critical of this actually, but supposed to be ASEAN, Indonesian beyond growth epicenter, as Arnold we said before. Not only growth, growth is not everything, right, Arnold? So, but Indonesia want to be growth epicenter of ASEAN. Let's see what Rizal say about this. Go ahead, Rizal.
Yeah, okay. How to make the slide out? By the way, hi, how are you? How's things going? Good? Very nice? All right, yeah. Just realized that the last time I came to Bandung was like 15 years ago. Long. Yeah, it's always nice to be back here. The Rase FM is still here? Yeah. Cool. KLCBS still here as well? Cool. Good things then, you know. Good old days still there. Well, my name is Rizal Siddiq. I'm a good friend of Professor Ansari Yusuf. In fact, actually, when I was in London, Professor Arif has a very famous party, legendary among the London students. So I'm not going to tell what's happened, but it's super cool, right? That's one thing. The other thing as well that I'm actually learning a lot of econometrics from him. So, and Pajajaran University Department of Economics is not a strangers for us. It's very familiar, and I have a lot of friends here in the department, right? But today the plan is that I'm going to sort of like. But hang on. First off, I think probably need to introduce myself. My name is Rizal, and I'm an economist, but now working at the Leiden Institute of Area Studies. Specialization will be the economies of South and Southeast Asia. Right. So what I'm doing now is actually basically trying to introduce what I've been doing in Leiden so far in my teaching in particular, but we can actually talking about something else as well. Right? You guys with me? Yeah. All right, cool. Right. Oh, it's not so clear. First of all, let's set up the scene. What do we mean by Southeast Asian economy? Right? It's always good for us to actually start with looking at the map, because then you get the idea what it's all about. So it's not the kind of like blur imaginations about the economies or the country itself, right? Even by looking at the map, then you're going to see a lot of interesting things. Do you know that Myanmar is actually that big? It's a huge country, right? And do you know that Laos is landlocked, right? In a landlocked country, the next question, do they have navy? No, I'm not gonna ask you that. Angkatan Laut. Right. Then we do have Indonesia as well. And then you look at China here, right? The growing giants with a lot of like very high economic, 9-8%. So, you know, we're actually closing quite close as a regions to the engine of the growth of the world, the factory of the world in the old days, right? Then if you're looking at that, you know, that's Indonesia, of course, one of the biggest country. If you look at here to here, from Aceh or from this part to this part, it's basically like from London to Tehran or San Francisco to New York City, but with a lot of borders in between, right? Now, what do we mean by the economy, right? Normally, economy is starting like GDP, of course. We can also, whenever we talk about we refer the economy of Indonesia, Malaysia, either it refers to the land area, the populations, and the GDP. GDP is the numbers of, you know, goods and services in production. I think you guys are economics department student, right? You passed Econ 101. You did or did not? Are you doing it? All right. You should be. All right. Cool. So yeah, so that's the idea. If you look at that, I think this is going to be quite important to see in terms of population. It is 2020, 4 years ago, before the COVID-19. around 9% of the people actually live in the region, right? But in terms of GDP, it's still only like 3.6%. So basically, you know, with a very simple calculation, you get the idea that, you know, there's a lot of things that needs to be done from the regions to be at least growing a little bit more, right? This one is probably more important or really interesting to look at it. And that's why I put my subtitle as a long run perspective, because let's look up 50 years back, right? If you think that life is hard in Indonesia today, I don't know how many of you are that pessimistic. If you think that if life in Indonesia is bad or hard today, and then you would imagine how hard life was when the economy is like 9 times as poor as what we have today, which is in the 1970s, right? Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. Here's you always look at it for 8.8 means that Indonesian GDP per capita GDP in 2017 is 8.8% large, 8.8 times as big as what we do have in the 1970s. So within 50 years, right, the average Indonesians are almost 9 times as rich as we were in the 1970s. That was quite impressive, right? So my point is that for you guys who are pessimistic, then, you know, imagine a situation when we were 9 times as poorer in the 1970s, right? Singapore is also impressive. Thailand, 7.1, Lao PDR, whatever like that. So this is the thing. Compared to the world, on the same period of the 50 years, overall, the world itself is getting rich. It's getting better, but only 3 times as rich as in the 1970s. So what does it really tell us? When the economies are growing like 9 times richer, 8 times, 6 times richer, it means that region is growing really well economically, way above 3 times as rich as what the world's actually doing. That is actually what makes the Southeast Asian economies really interesting, right? Not all the regions in the world grew as high as what we do have here, right? If you're talking about South Asia, it's just only happening in the last 20 years also, you know, India, the rise of India thing. Sub-Saharan Africa still has a lot of things to do with their economic growth, okay? Maybe the only region that actually can surpass, did better than Southeast Asia will be the East Asia tigers, right? So that's what we think. If you are wondering why we do see so many Starbucks today compared to what happened in 20 years ago or 30 years ago, it's because people are getting rich in general, right? All right, so far so good. You guys with me still, right? Or we, right? Do you have any question in between? All clear? Cool. Right, this is in terms of number. So you're gonna see that, right? You know what happened here? Do you know what happened in here? This is the 1998 Asia financial crisis. It's huge, right? But the cool thing is that it turns out, you know, it's actually quite temporary, you know, and then, you know, we still have economic growth going up, like Malaysia, for example, like everybody like in these regions, 70 years ago, 60 years ago. But then, you know, Malaysia made it like 25,000 now, 15,000, like Thailand here. This is also quite good, interesting information for you, right? Did you know that Thailand is actually probably a bit almost twice as rich as Indonesia today, right? So yes, I do hope that this kind of thing actually get you some information that you can bring it home, and if you go to the student party and you can tell, like, if you want to try to impress, right, your girlfriend or boyfriend in the middle of the party, you can just say, hey, do you know that Thailand is actually twice as rich as Indonesia today? Just that trick, right? That's a quite good opening line. All right. Well, anyway, what happened in between? What happened then when the economy is like growing that impressive, right? Structural transformation. Now I'm going to talk about it because Professor Arif Yusuf is the one that you need to talk to. I think the latest publication with what's the name for the Kings? And the summer is about structural transformation, right? So the economy are moving from this, agrarian economy, manufacturing sectors, and this. You guys are now living in this world, right? I was probably around here, right? Your parents or your grandparents may be in this economy, right? In the last 50 years, which is quite short, actually, if you come to think about it, the large part of the economies in Southeast Asia are moving from here to here. And this is Jakarta, by the way. But you can see the problem as well. This is skyscrapers, but there's a lot of things. Poverty is still here. Got it? So far, so good? Any question? You can ask in Bahasa Indonesia, but don't try in Sundanese. All right? Good. Yeah, this is GDP per capita and this like that. That's structural transformation. So basically, look at Indonesia, right? In the 1970s, around 40% of the economy are in agriculture. This is agrarian economy. But in 2015, it's actually probably only like 8%. Can you see something strange about Philippines? Can you see something interesting about Philippines here? You can point it, I get like, 10 euros. You want 10 euros? No. Philippines is interesting because what happened is that if you look at Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand, when the agricultural sector is going down, moving out from the agrarian economy, the size of industry or manufacturing industry actually going up. Look at that, right? This is going up. This is not, right? What happened is that, it's going down here, but there's not so much industrialization in Philippines. There's not so much manufacturing industrialization in Philippines, right? But Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand is actually more following that kind of pattern, right? This is poverty and inequality, right? There's a possibility that you do have impressive economic growth with no effect on poverty. We know it, right? There's a not pro-poor growth rate. But if you look at a simple things like that, it turns out, it seems to me that there's also significant poverty reductions throughout the days. And this is the new poverty line at $2.25 at purchasing power parity that have been considered as extreme poverty, right? Equality, right? You can read that one. Do we see significant increase in inequality in the last 30 years also? A little bit worrying here, right? This is actually, I know very well that Professor Ansori, a little bit concerning what Asia in this year, right? But if you look at the long run perspective, you can see, whether it's actually worrying or not, but, but you look at Thailand is doing good, going down. Philippines more or less is going down as well. Malaysia is going on. So that's the Gini coefficient thing. Right. Any question? No? No? Right. Now, what explains if we see that there are different, look at this, you're gonna see that not every country has the same record of economic growth. Malaysia did it really well, Indonesia doing okay, Thailand's doing well, not so much, and things like that, right? So basically, it means that there are variations of the economic growth even within the region. Now, the next question is we can then wondering why, what makes that sort of differences within the Southeast Asian region, which is this, right? I don't know if you are familiar with this, the idea how to structure our thinking about economic growth. You know, there are differences in economic growth. It's going to be coming from the factor endowment and productivity. Factor endowments meaning human capital, physical capital accumulation, and human capital accumulations, and the productivity, innovation, right? So it means that the hypothesis will be then, if it is true, if this framework is actually true, a country are going to be richer. One of the reasons why Malaysia is richer than Indonesia, first, the capital accumulation rate is higher in Malaysia. That's the hypothesis, right? The human capital quality and human capital investment is also better in Malaysia. And the technological progress is also innovation maybe better in Malaysia as well. That is before we're looking at the data, because we know the theories, right? A country who has a higher capital accumulation and human capital accumulation and a better innovation or technological progress, we're gonna grow higher than the one who get less of that. Now, if you look at this one, this is coming from the Penn World Table. We're looking at that. There's a, first of all, there's a positive correlations between share of investment, capital accumulation rate, and this is the per capita income now in 2017. So if you're asking, for example, why Malaysia is richer, why Malaysia is richer than Indonesia or than Vietnam, the first thing that I come up will be that because Malaysia has higher share, a mean share of investment of GDP. So the capital accumulation rate is higher in Malaysia in the last 50 years. So no wonder they are richer than Indonesia or Malaysia. This is actually kind of an exercise. If you do get theories, you should start to look up the data. And the theory says that one of the factors or determinants of economic growth is capital accumulation or investment rate. If that's the case, it means that a country with higher income might be coming from the fact that their investment rate is larger than the country with actually poorer or with lower income. And yes, it is. So it can explain that, you know, Malaysia is richer or Singapore are because of the investment rate is higher, right? What about that? The other one will be like, this is a human capital index, right? This is also telling you that Malaysia human capital index, which is coming from the combinations of the school enrollment and return of labor market, are actually higher than in Indonesia or Thailand. And there's no wonder, again, the second factor, second determinant also tells you that, you know, no wonder Malaysia are actually richer than Vietnam or Philippines. But compared to this, the correlation was not really that tight, right? So it's scattered around the world. Any questions so far? Right? Cool. Okay. What about the other, the third determinants, the TFP, right? The contribution of TFP is actually somewhere around 20-25% of it, right? So that contribution is quite high, but the problem is that how do we explain that 25% determinants of economic growth? It turns out to be not that easy.
right? It's still a black box of explaining the differences of economic growth in Southeast Asia, right? Now, is there a model? Is there a special way? Is there something that we call development models coming out from the experience of Southeast Asian economic growth, right? The alternative models will be like, the idea is that why some people grow, why some country grow better than the others, right? It could be because here's the crux, here's the issues of economic growth, which is how a country allocate limited resources to the best use, to the most productive hands, firms, or people. So if we do have limited resources, we do have limited input, right? And some country, if a country managed to put those limited input or resources to the right productive hands, the country are going to be growing really well. If not, not so much. But it begs question will be like, how are we going to do that? What is the best way to put the limited resources to the most productive person, to most productive sectors, right? There are three explanations at least. First of all, that's what we call models. That's what we call development models in particular, right? First of all, there's possibility will be that, there's something called getting price right. This is kind of like pro-market type of arguments. The best way to allocate limited resources is by following the market competition and price signals, right? The so-called liberalization, the so-called pro-market policy is actually based the idea, right? The price is actually, according to that argument, line of argument, will be the best way to allocate resources to the most productive person, because the price will actually tell you where the resources should go. If the price high, resources will go there, right? If the resources goes to that place, then the price will go down because there's so many supply. You guys learn about it in Econ 101, right? Right. And then second one will be getting the price wrong. It means that no, maybe market does not really do the work well. So somebody has to do it. Somebody has to actually sort of like, a lot of problem is not so much about getting price right. The problem is actually getting some sort of like, not really wrong, but it's state intervention. The state deliberately decided on what is the most effective, the best way to allocate resources. The third one is somewhat the combinations of it. The so-called, this is the both of combination. So there's a role of public policy in Asian economic growth, but the role of the public policy is not so much distorting the price, but it's actually market fundamental right, selective intervention. Right. No, it's right. Oh. So, is there a Southeast Asia model? Can we explain the differences in economic growth in the last 50 years in Southeast Asia by a particular models? Maybe not, right? Because, this according to Dwight Perkins and ADB, there's no specific models. You cannot really tell, one models to explain the growth in many countries, right? So every country has its own way of doing it, right? But maybe there is a kind of like bit of consensus from Hal Hill from Australia. Institutions differ greatly, but there's a common patterns or perhaps conference policies. And there are three things, according to Professor Hal Hill, which was like the orthodox micro policy, conservative micro policy. There's some level of openness. The third last one will be universal education. So that's a common theme across. What about Indonesia? This is my last slide, right? Do we see that pattern in the last 50 years? It seems to me, yes. There's stable microeconomic policy making, right? The technocracy will actually rather conservatives and keep conservatives, which is good because then, you're gonna get some sort of like microeconomic situation or microeconomic policy that is more or less predictable. Because unpredictable or volatile micro situation will actually bad for capital accumulation and human capital accumulation. You cannot really tell what is the return for the next year, right? And then there's a relatively like the respect to property right? There's also some sort of like openness, right? But also, this is also important. There's substantial resources allocation for social and physical infrastructures, education, health, irrigation system, especially in the early days of, when we started the development in 1970s and the 80s, right? This is probably what makes Indonesia rather special in terms of development pattern, right? Compared to say African countries, because somehow for the reason that I don't really know it, the policymakers in Indonesia, at least in the 1970s, 80s, 90s, put a lot of attention about agricultural sector. If you go to African countries, or even India now, right? Their development strategy basically does not say anything about agrarian economy. They want to jump into more like high technology. The imagination will be like, industry. But for some reason, Indonesia did the job to do something about agrarian economy, which is actually a good thing because agrarian economy in the old days were actually really the pocket of the poverty. So if you do something right about it, if you are actually able to increase the productivity of agrarian economy, you're going to get a lot of economic growth from there. But there also luck, which is, oil windfall and proximity to the high growth in Northeast Asia. So oil windfall is in 1970s, 1980s, right? But the thing is that for some reason, I'm not saying that there's no money being corrupted, a lot of it, but still there's substantial part of that oil money it goes into SD, Inpres, Puskesmas, and irrigation system, which is the substantial public investment in the early years of Indonesian development in the last 50 years. But corruption and distorted micro policies are actually still a problem and actually going to end up with the economic crisis. Sadly, maybe this is actually still with us until now. I think that will be all. We can start to have a discussion with me and with Professor Tucker. Thank you. Kumaha, Damang.
Thank you, Rizal. I would like to re-invite again Arnold to sit on the front and Rizal as well. Thanks, Rizal. I think the last slide is very interesting because I still believe that one of the main determinant of certain ASEAN country to grow is luck or fate. For example, because Mao Zedong live long. Because if Mao Zedong live not long, maybe Deng Xiaoping can rise earlier, and then they will take all the industrialization of Indonesia and many other countries that we rely on the growth. And I think this is not just my take. I think Acemoglu has a textbook on modern economic growth, and he specifically mentioned that the deep determinant, there are four deep determinant of economic growth, and one of them is luck. So perhaps it's the destiny that we grow. So don't underestimate destiny. Anyway, I will sit over there.
I never get used to with this kind of setup. Actually, you guys are too far away. I'm talking to empty chairs here, the ghosts, right?
Well, it's a different experience, right? So, okay. Anyway, thanks again for the both talk. It is very interesting. And the coverage of the topic is quite wide as well. Now we have plenty of time, I think, to give you a chance to ask questions to Arnold and Rizal. Please use this opportunity because it is not, it's very special opportunity you can ask. Please ask anything that maybe it's related directly or even indirectly, yeah, about the topic. So I will give maybe one or two or three questions for the first round, open to students as well as lecturer that is present here, and also maybe participant from Zoom talk, from Zoom. I don't know how I can do that, but maybe Victor or someone can help me if there is some question from Zoom. So go ahead. If you have any question, just raise your hand first, and then second. I see that. Okay, please introduce yourself first, and if it's possible, just direct the question to one of the two speakers here.
All right, thank you for this opportunity, Prof. Arif Ansori. Thank you for your presentations, Pak Rizal, and also Prof. Arnold Tucker. So I have, oh yeah, let me introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Putra Hutama. You can call me Putra. And I was Pak Arif students actually back in 2012. Currently, I'm working as a junior advisor at executive staff of presidents. So actually, it's really interesting seminar for me. So I have two questions. The first question is regarding to the European Green Deal. European tried to set some instrument to contribute or to achieve the target of net zero emissions in 2060. One of the instrument is carbon border adjustment mechanism that European Union set the policy to charge the tax or tariff for the product that categorized as non-green products. So actually the questions for Prof. Arnold, how far this policy can influence to the other emerging countries, especially Indonesia? Is it good policy to push the emerging country to prioritize the agenda to transform the clean energy, or is it just I don't know? It's kind of like just try the policy, but we cannot say it can influence the emerging country. That the first question. The second question for Pak Rizal, actually, it's really interesting because in my office I also work for the issues of industry and also trade. So it's also we commonly we know that the industry is really contribute to boosting the growth, but currently Indonesia have deindustrializations. Can we say, is it a premature deindustrializations? Because if we if you see the other is Miracle Asia, I mean like Japan, Taiwan, and other country, they have the industrializations. After that, they change to they transfer to services sector. So is it, we can say Indonesia is premature deindustrializations, or is it the right time to transform to services sector? But in this government, I mean, the government now try to boost the industrializations by using the downstreaming policy. is it the right policy to boost the growth or to boost the industrializations? I think that's all. Thank you for this opportunity, Pak Arif, Prof. Arif.
Thank you. Next. Silakan ya. Anyway, if you are a bit reluctant to speak in English, that's not a problem. Yeah, I will try as much to translate.
Okay, thank you to the moderator, and I will ask two questions for Professor Tucker. The first one, if the cleaner production for the country is must to transform all the production sector to be produce the cleaner product. I mean, if the country want to produce the cleaner product like electricity vehicle, the EV will or might decrease the pollution from the transportation sector. But the input for the EV like nickel or the electricity, the demand for the nickel will decrease, the demand for energy or electricity will increase. So the pollution from the input, that is the nickel or the electricity energy, will increase too. And I will ask how to the country really want to produce the cleaner good that is actually decrease the pollution. And the second question for Mr. Rizal, the cleaner product for the Asian or for the Indonesian, like solar panel or the product have a green label, would be have a higher level of price. Yeah. With this condition, how Indonesian or Asian can transform the society to consume and product cleaner good or product. That's for me. Thank you.
Okay, one last one. If you have, otherwise I will just. Okay, while waiting for the next. Oh, okay, no, not yet. Yeah, think about something else later. But I will invite Arnold and Rizal to try to answer. The first is about CBAM, but please explain a little bit about what CBAM means, yeah, because not everyone know here. And then Rizal, and then on premature deindustrialization and Rizal, and then the last one is EV really clean? Arnold.
Yeah. Okay. Let's start with CBAM. That is what we call the carbon border adjustment. The idea is that if we make steel in Europe with low carbon technologies, and we import it, let's say, from China that use a lot of carbon emissions for the same kilogram of steel, that we say, well, that is unfair. Our industry has invested in clean technologies, and we are competed by other industries from outside Europe that did not do the investment, can probably supply cheaper steel, but at the expense of the environment. So the idea is that we have a border tax for dirty products. Yeah. And I'm in the lucky situation that I know the member of European Parliament that actually developed this legislation. It is Mohamed Chahine. He is Moroccan from origin. He was a very good colleague of me at TNO, and he was elected in the parliament and worked very hard on that. The idea behind it is actually economic fairness. So I think actually that CBAM is a measure to make sure that companies in the world are going to implement clean technologies. If you want to export to Europe, we have to invest, you become cleaner, and your export to Europe becomes more actually cheaper. That is the whole idea behind it. I think Mohammed is very aware of the fact that probably this is not the only thing you have to do. You also have to look at certain countries will have difficulty into invest in cleaner technologies. So maybe you need also knowledge transfer, financial transfer, and foreign direct investment to help that. But it is also clear that if you leave the world as it is now, and you allow that the dirtiest producer to make the cheapest products and then compete on the market, that is not a way to sustainability. So CBAM is something similar to a tax on carbon emissions that we have in Europe, to make sure that everywhere in the world, people get an incentive towards cleaner production. That is the whole thing behind it. Then I go to the question, a very interesting question about electric vehicles. Yes, you are totally right. Electric vehicles, they don't produce direct carbon emissions, but of course they need electricity and they need batteries. Batteries are difficult to produce. The production creates a lot of carbon emissions. The problem is that you have a chicken and egg problem, as we call it. At some point, of course, we need a carbon neutral energy system, mainly driven by PV and by wind and other clean sources. Once you have that, the electric vehicle, of course, really will run on green electricity and will have really no emissions. At this point, if I bring my electric vehicle, let's say to Poland, where you have still a lot of coal-fired power plants, or to China, then probably I will have the same emissions as if I were driving a petrol car, indirectly, because the electricity plants will emit as much carbon per kilometer driven as I would have with a petrol car. The issue, though, is that we see that all the countries are on a pathway to make their energy system cleaner, low carbon. So the point is, if we now start to stimulate electric vehicles, maybe at this point in time, it may in certain countries not yet be useful, but over time, you will see the electricity will become greener and it will become better. And now already in many countries, it is better to have an electric car as a petrol car. Actually, some of my PhDs also looked at how do you make these batteries? And that is a very interesting assessment. Because if we all go to drive SUVs with very large batteries, yeah, then of course the batteries that I need have a high capacity, need a lot of nickel, a lot of cobalt, and so on. And then making the batteries creates a lot of carbon emissions if I still do not have a clean energy system. If we keep our cars smaller, we need smaller batteries, and then it is a kind of possible. So you're totally right. You pointed 2 points that are very important. Making the batteries can be carbon intensive. If your electricity is carbon intensive, that is not a good thing to do. But since we move to a clean energy system, both the making of the batteries will become greener and also driving your car will become greener. And you have to do both. The car I buy today will be on the road for another 10, 15 years. So better start with that now. There is one other interesting example that one of my PhDs calculated as well. You probably know that if you have solar and wind power, it goes up, down, and so on. You create electricity, but maybe at the moment that you do not need it. You can use the car as a storage system. You can use the car battery to store surplus electricity if the wind blows very hard or the sun is shining very well. You can store it in your car and maybe extract it over the night. And we calculated that the short-term fluctuations actually can be met by car batteries. I hope it gives you an answer.
Okay, thank you, Arnold. Rizal?
Yep. Please. Thanks. The first question was about whether Indonesia experienced the premature industrialization, right? Let me get you some information or facts. It's not here, but you can easily look up them by yourself. First of all, if you look at the structures of Indonesian export, meaning what kind of things that Indonesia exported, and you compare the structures of Indonesia export today to the one like maybe 25 years ago, you're gonna see that actually these days, the contribution or the share of primary sectors, meaning agriculture and mining, are actually larger than what we do have in the, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago. So that's not really, that's a kind of really interesting thing to look up, right? Because normally when you're getting rich, then, you know, the share of primary sectors in your export, it means that, you know, your comparative advantage, the thing that you're good at, are moving from agrarian, the structural development, into the industry, right? So it means that what happened in Indonesia, by definition, maybe is not so much about the premature industrializations, but even more interesting, which is that we're moving back. Premature industrialization, actually, you're jumping from agrarian economy and skip the industrialization to the service sectors. But if you look at the indicators of the export as, you know, in market, international market, you're going to see that Indonesia actually moving from manufacturing industry back to the commodity sectors, coal and things like that. So that's it. The second one, why is it becoming problematic or might actually become a problem? Because normally one of the arguments for the industrial is manufacturing industrialization, because those manufacturing sectors are really when the technological capacity has been built up. That is the sort of the common pattern. That is the source of the you know, technological capabilities, transfers, and everything like that. The other data that I would like to show you, I don't have it now, but you can look at that as well. The total factor productivity, meaning, you know, technological capacity to use all of the factors of production. If you look at that back to 2030, I mean, what is the crisis? 1998? So it's going to be 25 years from now. Was actually flat, going down because of a crisis and flat. So it meant the technological progress was not really there. So it may be also because of that kind of problem, right? So in a sense, that then why do we have the economic growth throughout those periods after the crisis? Because of the commodity boom, right? And the commodity boom, if you also still remember, I do hope that you guys still remember the Dutch disease, you know, natural resource course, meaning that, you know, when you are really rely on the commodities export, then it's going to be distort the incentive to invest the agricultural sectors, because, you know, the exchange rates are actually not competitive. It makes the manufacturing goods are not competitive, then it is not going to do that. So it's still there. I mean, I'm just like connecting some of the information, but it's actually really good. If you guys want to do that in later, give me an email. Let's do something about it, because that's a really good empirical question. The second question about green technology and do we actually, Indonesia can afford of doing it? I don't know actually. Maybe it's actually, I don't know, Tucker can answer it. Because, but here's the thing that you might want to start to help about it, right? But we the first thing that, you know, we saw that Indonesia is getting richer, right? So it means that we can afford more for the green technology, right? That's one. The second one, I think there's a lot of evidence now that green technology not necessarily also lower growth, right? That's what we saw these days. And the third one, the old inverted Kuznets U-curve, right? When you're getting rich, you know, in the initial industrializations from poor country to the middle income country, then you do see a lot of pollution, right? But then, you know, at some point, then the pollution will go down, either because of the structures of productions now becoming less and less pollution intensive, or maybe also because people now can afford to buy avocado or, bio whatever, things like that, right? So yes, the thing is that, but there's also some evidence inverted yield curve might not be happening as well. So what I'm saying to you now is actually that's more like theoretical predictions of it, but the numbers, to be honest, I don't know it yet. Maybe you know better than I do.
Okay, well, let me add a bit. Last night, I was speaking to Rizal. I said that the technology is progressing now. So now, China, for example, decouple their pollution 15 years in 15 years, OECD in 45 years. So China managed to decouple their growth much faster than OECD did. And then also at much lower income. That's what happened. And when we walk around London with Rizal in 2001, we see advertisement of solar panel. It's all in German. They're a German brand. But now if you go to London, they are in Chinese brand. So you can see that. But on electric vehicle, also quite interesting. It's always controversial. Since, for example, Arnold is living in Paris now, and if you walk around Paris and you see electric vehicle, I always see that similar to submarine, because it was powered by nuclear. Yeah, 40% of energy mix in France are nuclear. So those cars are nuclear powered, I think, not electricity power per se. So now I will give opportunity for the second round. Maybe we have only 2 rounds, but first of the second round, I will invite someone from Zoom. There is someone Zoom who want to ask question. Anissa, yeah, please help to. Okay, can you turn on the camera so we want to see your face too? If it's possible. Adisa. Yeah, Adisa. Do you mind showing your video? If not, you can always speak, or not. Maybe you can. I will just read it for you.
I just want to point it out. Arif is right. Technology is important. It's going to be cheaper and cheaper when it
Oh,
comes to
Ari
green technology.
Cahya. Oh, Adisa. Is that okay? Okay. Can you speak, Adisa?
Yes. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, we can clearly, we can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me introduce myself. My name is Adisa. I'm a PhD student candidate from Indonesia, and I'm interested in doing PhD under the Arnold supervision. And I'm doing research on carbon emission. Yeah. Currently I'm doing research on carbon emission embodied in Indonesia export-import using the EORA database. And I was wondering if ExaioBase is publicly available too. And I enjoy your clear presentation. I'm aware that there is an ongoing debate regarding the 2 contrasting approaches to emission accounting called PBA and CBA, production-based accounting and consumption-based accounting. And it appears that you are suggesting to move from the PBA approach, which is the accounting system currently used in NDC reporting, to the CBA approach. So move from PBA to CBA. But I think that it is not a good idea because I think the latter is more complicated and may produce less accurate results because of different in data sources. That's my point of view. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I answer. Okay, first things first. I mean, all the people that did the PhD in the Netherlands obtained a stipend from LDPD or another source. So if really, I mean, it always works like this, that you really have to look like, I mean, we run an environmental institute, we do certain things. We have to look if what the PhD candidate wants to do really fits with us. Of course, if we think that you really are good enough to do a PhD, because not every, it's really hard work. And then in my institute, you have two ways of doing a PhD. It's either we get projects, then we have a job. You have to apply for a job. That is highly competitive. Usually 30, 40 people apply for a job and then, okay. And the other way is getting a stipend from your country. And then of course the money is much easier, but we still look very carefully. Are you willing to do the kind of work that fits with the institute that we are in? Maybe you go better to another institute. And do we think that you can really manage in 4 years? Because that is how it works. That's about PhDs. Then a question about input-output analysis, Axio-based and production-based and consumption-based accounting. I agree. I mean, production-based accounting is very simple. You have an industry sector, you have emissions, and that's it. You still need to see where you get the emission data from. That is complex. Okay, then you have consumption-based accounting, and that is indeed that you say, the example, I invite you to Starbucks and we're going to calculate how the money we spend is divided over the full value chain. And of course, there are additional uncertainties. But what we found, if you do the calculations and if you, for instance, stick to carbon, if you stick to expenditure by country, the uncertainties are not overly complex. And it gives you an additional perspective. So actually, I was in certain sessions of the COP in Marrakesh and in Paris about 4 or 5 years ago. And there was concern indeed, if we are going to implement consumption-based accounting, what is going to happen? There are people who don't want to have any measure with carbon reduction. And they say, oh, let us do another 5 years of research to iron out all the uncertainties with consumption-based accounting. And in the meantime, we do nothing. Well, of course, that is not what we want. So I think the COP did a very sensible thing. They said, well, we stick to production-based accounting. We say that all the countries have responsibilities to lower their own emissions. That is important. But if two countries agree that there is a kind of a disparity, that one is exporting very dirty stuff that is used by the other one, and maybe there should be a joint kind of responsibility between the two, that is fine. So that is, I think, a sensible way of using consumption-based accounting without actually stalling the whole system.
Last one, is Axio-based database publicly available?
I mean I mean we can go. I forgot which one. There is we have an Axio-based website where you can download it, and it is not GitHub, but another one where we have these kind of database. So the database is publicly available. People can play around with it, and we don't charge, no problem.
Yeah. Okay. There is another questions from Zoom, Pak Ari Cahya. Pak Ari Cahya is also one of our lecturers in the department. So go ahead, Pak Ari.
Hello, Pak Arif, Reza and Pak Tucker. Only one question for Pak Tucker. Is it accurate to state that governments have not taken sufficient concrete actions to address the climate crisis? Is it this assertion holds? What's if it is holds? What strategies can be implemented to effectively push governments, particularly those of emerging markets like Indonesia, to take action? That's just my one question. Thank you, Pak Arif.
Okay, can you repeat one more for the last question, because the buzz of the bass of the speaker is too much, so I cannot hear. Can you speak again? Say again.
Okay. Is it accurate to state that governments have not taken sufficient concrete actions to address the climate crisis? If it is true, then what strategies can be implemented to effectively push governments, particularly those of emerging markets like Indonesia, to take actions?
We get it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it is a very good question. And I think what you in practice see is that the people that depend on the fossil fuel economy, like Shell, the big oil companies, Arabic countries, they see that their role will disappear if we go to basically a carbon neutral economy. And what you see all the time, they start to fight back. They start to actually delay the process. What I find interesting is that the car industry at this moment is not opposing electric cars anymore, because in the last 10 years, they have learned how to set up productions of electric cars. So they stay in business. They see actually a new business model for themselves. They see a future for themselves. For the Arabic countries and the OPEC countries, that is not true. And what I see all the time is that these companies, I mean, they heel dig, they stop. What is very telling for me is that the new COP, it's basically the big conference on carbon neutrality, will be chaired by an Arabic oil sheikh. Come on. I mean, we want to go to a carbon neutral economy. This was a guy that I think in the Arabic Emirates was responsible for oil production. What is going to happen here? I mean, so that is a real problem. So I totally agree that government could have done much more. But the problem is government is not the all-powerful thing that we always like it to be. It is a very mixed thing that you have companies. If you look at the US elections, I mean, these companies give money to the future presidents and they need the money to be elected and then they have to give something back. It's a very muddly process. I'm not a policy scientist. Your policy scientist can analyze that. And I think that if you would have started with carbon neutrality 20, 30 years ago, we would have a much easier task, you know, and that is lacking. And I talked with a guy, Johan Rukström, very famous for, let's say, the planetary boundaries a few weeks ago. And basically what we see now is that maybe that you now see that the heat waves are coming in Europe, that I sleep with a ventilator because for the first time in my life I needed it. You start to think this is wrong, this is totally wrong. And what you often see in countries when something is going terribly wrong, then there's a public uprise and then government can really act. So maybe we reached that social tipping point, if you like, that now indeed government is going to say, sorry, we're going to push carbon neutrality, we're going to push solar, PV, wind, electric vehicles, and hopefully we will be in time. But that is indeed what has to happen and what was lacking until now.
Rizal, want to add something, please?
No, I do have a question actually, still on these things, right? Because we do have two experts here, Arnold and Arif. And also related to about the government, right? What can we do about that? Aris, I think. So look at Indonesia at the moment now, right? The government seems to start to intervene or start to actually move to or pay attention about the green economy, right? They started to make a policy of it, EV, for example, right? And nickel industry and things like that. Then it's a good thing. Then we might probably gonna get a greener economy, right? But in between, there's a lot of possibility that that good thing policy then being hijacked by rent seekers. How do you guys think about that? We might gonna end up with the greener, but the benefits are actually, you know, more concentrated, clubbies, rent seekers, which is not, we don't really see that, right? Any takers?
I can volunteer to give my 2 cents. I always quote American authors in 1960s, I think. It's called Chapman, G.J. Chapman. He said that reform consists of taking a bone from a dog So philosophy will not do it. so sampai berbusa juga if the political economy you ignore, it's a bit difficult. So one necessary thing that we should do, in my opinion, is you have to understand the distributional impact of such reform. So you map who win and who lose, and then try as much as possible to approach the winner so that they can become our ally in the reform. And then even you approach the loser, so we ask them how much to compensate. In Sundanese language, it said, China herang, laukna benang. China herang, laukna benang means you can catch the fish, but you keep the pond still clean. Yeah? So that's how I see. So that's why many Sundanese become diplomat. Right? We are Sundanese, most of us. Yeah. So maybe that close the discussion, because it's 11:45 according to Victor schedule is supposed to stop. So because we have other agenda. So thanks again everyone, but especially Arnold and Rizal, yeah, my close friend. That it's a very good opportunity for us here, yeah, to be here, to listen directly without only looking on the screen, but their face directly. So it's a privilege for us to be here together. So let's give a big applause to both speakers. Yeah, and I return the event to Victor, maybe because you have some like ceremonial things to do, like. Okay, so siapa yang mau ngasih? Okay, so I'd like to introduce Vice Dean and also Ibu Susi to come forward, because we're going to give some souvenirs. Oh, in the front. Okay, so Rizal and Arnold. And then maybe a bit of photo taken. Oh,